Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So we're talking about if we were shaitan and we wanted to harm society the most, what would we do? So what we could say is this, is that we would try to do something so the future generations would be hurt. We would try to rip apart the family structure. And there's a story, and it says that a person comes between two tribes, and he comes to Shaitan and tells him that I want to challenge you, and I want you to be able to see who's going to do more harm. And he causes division and fitna between two tribes, and they kill thousands of people. He starts a war, and they kill each other. And then Shaitan starts, a war. Shaitan. So this person started a war, and Shaitan comes, and he causes two people to fall in love and do, have a haram start, a haram beginning, and a haram child, and not a good start. Not necessarily, as we said, that every child will become like this. No, but there will be, of course, a disadvantage than having a healthy family and the parents there. Then the person said, well, look, I killed 30,000 people, and you killed, and you only did one thing. You caused these two people to fall into love. And says, yes, I have to do this so someone like you can be born and he can kill 30,000 people. So when you think about this, and not necessarily, as we're saying, everyone's going to become like this. But what we're trying to say is this, is that Shaitan is trying to break down the family structure. He does not want fathers to raise their children. He does not want mothers to raise their children. And right now, many people and everybody of us, we know it is not something easy that when we come to marriage, even though as blessed as it is, it's not something easy. Marriage for us has, before we get into the Quran about it, I wanted to say a few things. One is that marriage, you actually realize more about yourself. If you are an impatient person, because you are tested now, your impatientness comes out. If you're maybe a violent person, if maybe you were a very loving person, all of these characteristics that we have that is inside us comes out in marriage. Sometimes we say that this person made me a bad person. Maybe they did. But also there's the possibility that actually you were bad inside and this person brought it out. So when everything is nice and you're in your parents' family homes and you have the same genes and you're raised and you guys speak the same and everything's normal, well, sometimes it's harder for there to be confliction when you come and you meet someone else with a new family, you meet the in-laws. When you come to such a bond, and it is a holy bond, of course, and we'll read verses of the Holy Quran, you have to keep in mind that it is a test. It is a test, and that you are discovering more about yourself. Then when you have children, you notice, I have more faults. I didn't notice these faults. When I was with my friends, I didn't behave like this. How come with my spouse I behave like this? How come with my kids I behave like this? Why? Because you weren't fully tested. That is why marriage causes us to be complete. So actually, you owe your spouse some credit in that they are taking you and testing you, and your children are testing you 24/7. 2, marriage develops us. Every test has tarfi, and it raises our ranks. So look at marriage as a place where that marriage is the best place of jihad al-nafs. Why? Because when you're with your friend, you choose a friend that likes what you do, and you go to places where you both like. But in marriage, you have to sacrifice. You have to watch something you really don't want to. You have to meet some family members you really, really don't want to. But you have to. That's nafs. That's jihad. And what else is jihad al-nafs? It's not just not eating Krispy Kreme donuts and Oreos. That's nothing compared to this jihad al-nafs that you have here. Is my spouse bringing me closer to ubudiyya, to being an abd, and removing those sins from me? And this is natural, You don't think that Allah is going to, in place, give you so much more reward. And that's what you look at the hadith. The woman will be raised with the rank of, some of the greatest women ever created if they have patience on their husband, and a husband that has patience for their spouse. So in general, before we enter this, and most of us are probably married here, you have to have these two things. One is you're identifying yourself and your faults. And you come out, wow, I didn't even know I was like this. Wow. So then you can work on yourself. Because this is the place where you can change yourself, change your ada, change your habits. And then later on, you can change your khulq and your disposition. If you work so hard, and that ada becomes, you change your disposition. Two, you realize that you're actually in a place of jihad al-nafs. Because you're not comfortable all the time. You're not, unless you're going to be a dictator at home. But if you want to make everybody happy, then you're going to have to do things that you don't like 24/7 sometimes. Or see some people, so you might have to see your spouse when they're not in a good mood. When you see your own friends, they're always usually in a good mood, or else they wouldn't come out and hang out with you. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. And of his signs is that he created for you from yourselves mates, that you may find tranquility in them. So when you look at marriage in the Quran, we're seeing taskeen. Why is there going to be taskeen? What's this tranquility going to come from? From these things that we're going to mention here. One, from these things that we're going to mention. One is fulfilling sexual needs. This is a normal desire that man has, and there will be taskeen. When a need is met, a person will then have tranquility. Two, emotional needs. Fulfilling emotional needs. That's why for marriage. To love. That emotion of loving and experiencing love. And inshallah it works for everyone, that love. Three, الرجال قوامون على النساء. Please, men, do not take advantage of this verse. But he brings it here, and this scholar, and who's a mufassir and philosopher, says that men are in charge of women. الرجال قوامون على النساء. But does this mean that they have to follow you in everything? In fiqh, there's only two things. We'll talk about later on. You can ask me. In fiqh, what's wajib is for a wife to obey her husband. Two matters only. But in general, you see this qawamun, in charge, or that the duty, there has to be leadership in marriage. And one of the things that people don't understand is that once you attack the leader of the family, and in general, the mother, one of the good excuses for the mother to help their kids to be disciplined, said, I'm going to tell your dad. I'm going to tell your dad when he comes home. And if that child does not fear their father anymore, that father has been crushed. And that father has been, in a way, always degraded. That child is going to lose respect for the father, and that leadership is going to be brought down. So what we're trying to do in any type of business you have, or any type of organization, any type of institute, or you could say enterprise, you have leadership. And you want to make sure that leadership remains, because the child not only has to have their father be gentle with them, care for them, love, play with them, but at the same time, they need to, as we have read in the tradition from Imam Sajjad, you fear them as you fear a tyrant, if I remember the expression right. You fear them, you have fear, and you do dua that make me fear my father. And that's something good, for children. Not that you always have to, be parents that hit them and spank them, which doesn't necessarily always work. Because when you start hitting them, then you have to keep increasing the bounty, and keep increasing, how much you hit, because they get used to it. They get used to the hitting. So, but that general leadership. This is maybe one of the key factors for children, and later on is that women have to be very careful to give respect to the man, and the man has to be very careful to show love and give love to the wife, and also respect the wife and bring the status up of each other. If you crush any one of these two, then that child will be crushed and it will fail. So the child has to understand, and that's how a lot of times you see that the ulama were, Seyed Mutahari, the great teacher, Ustad Mutahari, their mom had something to do. I believe from the story that their mom had something to do and came back home late at night, and this teacher made sure that the children were awake and came in and received the mother, that she was out and now she's going to come in, and that they were ready to receive her when she comes home, so that if an important person is coming to the house, which is the mother. So don't degrade each other. When you degrade each other, even though they deserve degrading sometimes we all say something that's weird or not right. What you're doing is you're ruining that structure. Let's look at other principles. The principle of peace, and we talked about that you may find tranquility in them. And there should be peace at the end because you're complementing each other. The principle of reconciliation, that if there's a fight, there's a arbitrator, and there's reconciliation. وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ شَقَاقَ بَيْنِهِمَا فَابْعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. And if you fear dissension between the two, send an arbitrator from his people and an arbitrator from her people. If they both desire reconciliation, Allah will cause it between them. So to always bring back, sometimes there's going to be fighting, but you have a hakam, you have people that they both respect, and you bring these two people together. You do islah. Islah between brothers is good, and islah between zawj and zawja is even better, even higher. Let's read some more hadith now. So about this, the sanctity of marriage. Marriage is something that is very, causes a lot of respect. This should be respected. From Da'a'im al-Islam, from the Prophet of Islam, Man ahabba an yalqa Allah tahiran mutahharan falyata'affaf bizawjih. Whoever wants to meet Allah pure and immaculate should meet, I did not copy the whole thing, she wants to meet Allah Ta'ala and Mutahhar, should have yata'affaf bizawjih, should have modesty and chastity by their wife. Meaning that the first principle that we just mentioned here, that one of the things, sexual needs. If a person's sexual needs are not met through marriage, then there's going to be problem, because that person is going to try to fulfill it in other ways, or can be led to fulfilling it in other ways. That's why marriage at a young age is recommended. It's good. So that they can have ifaf, the children can have ifaf, can be afif when they grow up and they get married. And this part of this need that they have is taken care of because they have a way for it. But if it's not there, and as you see the age of marriage is being delayed and delayed, well then there's going to be a problem here. And as you see, the age of marriage is very much later. And the families are more demanding, and they're more wanting more from the husband, wanting more from the wife, and the degrees that they want. They want a PhD. Well, PhD takes a long time. It takes, by the time he's married, he doesn't have any hair anymore. So you have to decide, do you want a husband, a groom that has hair without a PhD? Or you want one with a PhD that doesn't have any hair? Marriage gives us value. وقال من متزوج النائم أفضل من الصائم القائم الأذى. A person who's asleep is married is better than an unmarried person who fasts and spends his night in prayer. So from the Prophet of Islam, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, اتخذوا للأهل فإنه أرزق لكم. Take up a wife, for verily it will increase your sustenance, rizq. From the barakat, you'll notice that if when you're single and you try to make money, it won't work. After you're married, after you have kids, you'll notice that, and as I'm not saying not 100%, there are unmarried people, there might be billionaires, okay. But risk, real risk, spiritual, material risk, it happens after marriage. So these barakats and blessings will happen more when you're married. وقال عليه السلام لأصحابه شرار موتاكم العزاب. The worst of the dead are those that are unmarried. And this hadith in Makarim al-Akhlaq from Imam Muhammad عليه السلام, من احتمل من امرأته ولو كلمة واحدة أعتق الله رغبته من النار. Whoever bears his wife, even if it comes one word, one ill word, God will save him from the fire. Of his signs he has created for you from yourselves mates, that you may find tranquility in them, and place between you affection and mercy. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And Allah has given you mawadda and rahmah. So love, He has given you, the translated as affection, love, and mercy. So Allah has given you love, a mutual feeling that is mixed, with self-sacrifice that you do for your spouse. Love that exists between children and their parents, and also love that exists between these two adults. Love, which is the initial motivator. However, maybe some say very beautifully, why did it say mawadda wa rahmah? Some say it's mawadda first is love, and mawadda and love starts that marriage, that exists. But then when you get older, there's love, but there needs more rahmah, there needs more mercy. So that's the difference between love and mawadda, is that love is a motivation at the beginning, is initial motivation, and mercy is needed as people get weak and older. And that love is a mutual feeling, while mercy is somehow mixed with the self and is more of sacrifice. Rahmah, you're sacrificing. But love, mawadda is together, is unilateral. But rahmah is more, sacrificing more. So inshallah we can have a good marriage, and we can honor each other, inshallah. And we can respect each other and have good children raised from this. And the purpose of marriage, inshallah, the intention will be to have good children. Those children will serve the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, exercise salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.